So as we discuss our moral theories, we need to understand what sort of tools we ought to use to evaluate them. We have tools to evaluate arguments, and we will see arguments within the moral theories, but when it comes to evaluating a moral theory for being a good one, we have certain criteria of adequacy. First and foremost, we want our moral theories to be consistent with our considered moral judgments. In other words, they should not conflict with our basic moral judgments. If, we all have sort of common moral ideas. People don't like to think about it, but we do. We all tend to think that murder is wrong and telling the truth is right. We tend to think that stealing is bad and raping is bad and treating people nicely and considerately is right. And if we are confronted with a moral theory that tells us we ought to be doing things like raping or murdering, or we ought not to be telling the truth, then we're going to have a problem, okay? That's going to raise some red flags for us. This is not to say that if a theory is inconsistent with our basic moral judgments, that we automatically throw it out. Our moral judgments are considered moral judgments with any luck, are moral judgments that we've spent time thinking about. We've spent time considering whether or not they are true. We've considered their value. But that doesn't entail that we're infallible. We might be wrong. Our considered moral judgments might be mistaken. And if a moral theory says our considered moral judgments are mistaken, we need to reevaluate the theory, but we should also take another look at these moral judgments. Okay? So not meeting, and we're going to see this for all of them, not meeting one of these criterion does not entail tossing out the theory. It might make the theory suspect, but that doesn't entail that it's bad. Consistency with facts of moral life. We have certain things that we do as part of our moral experiences, okay? And we don't want a moral theory to conflict with those moral experiences. One of those moral experiences is that I've been wrong about morality. I've made moral judgments and I've been incorrect about them. So if a moral theory says I could never possibly be mistaken about my moral judgments, then that theory is going to be suspect. I have I might have a moral experience that rules have exceptions. And if I encounter a theory that says rules don't have exceptions, I might consider the theory suspect. Again, I need to reevaluate the experience in addition to reevaluating the theory, but it's something that we need to take a harder look at. And moral theories ought to help us in problem solving. A moral theory should help us solve moral dilemmas. If I am confronted with a moral problem, should I be loyal to my friend who stole money to buy medicine that was going to save his daughter's life? Or should I be honest with the police when they ask me if I know who did it? Okay. So, loyalty versus honesty, it's a tough call. It's one of those harder moral problems. And I should have a moral theory that can help me solve that dilemma. And if a moral theory does not seem to help me solve moral dilemmas, I need to reconsider the theory. It is suspect. It's not obviously wrong. It's just suspect. Does that make sense?